Welcome to Relationship Success. This video that you're about to watch is going to absolutely blow your mind and change everything you've ever thought about relationships. As a matter of fact, my goal is when you're done listening to this, you will understand completely how a human being operates, how your mind operates, and how that operates in relationship. Because the honest truth is, all your relationships you're experiencing them through your mind. The way you interpret, the way that you believe, the way that you perceive things, or the relationship you're actually experiencing, and that includes the one with yourself. So I'm going to bring you into the 3 behaviors that are eroding your relationships. However, before I can even get there, we have to take a look at what constitutes a relationship and why do you do what you do in relationship and why does everyone else do what they do. You're not just going to get the answer about relationships in this video. You're going to get the answer on how this world operates, why people are doing what they're doing, why insanity goes on for so long. So the question is, if relationships are experienced through the mind, which they are, and of course there's a physical thing we do in them as well, but even the physical thing is all perceived through the mind. It's all judged through there, whether it's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong. All that stuff's going on up here. That's where the major relationship is. And guess what? I'm here to tell you something. Most people do not choose what they're thinking. Yes, contemplate that, thinking about that for a second. Most people do not choose what they're thinking. They make little choices like I'll wear this blue shirt as opposed to a black shirt or a green shirt or whatever, but even that is almost programmed in. But when it comes down to people arguing, fighting, feeling insecure, jealous, angry, resentful, breaking down in ways of screaming, silence, smashing things, physical, mental abuse, all of these things, poverty, fear, scarcity, all of these things are not being chosen because look me in the eye and tell me they are. Tell me all these people are choosing this, like consciously going, that's what I want. That's what I want in my life, is to be afraid. That's what I want, is to feel jealous and insecure. That's what I want with my boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, or significant other, is that I want to be angry at them and holler at them and get upset if they don't do what I want the way I want. See, this is all going on up here, and I'm going to unleash this so that you can get out of the mental prison that is created through a programming that happens to every human being from birth. So here's my first question to you. What causes your thinking to happen? Now, there's a couple answers, but one we're going to really focus on is the most important one. I'm going to tell you right now, it's beliefs. What you believe determines how you think, and how you think determines how you perceive the world. Works in a little train-like, and there's a little caboose here we need to talk about. So let's just take a look at that. What I believe creates a filter, so when the outside environment comes through, it triggers my thinking, and as I think, I perceive or create or experience my reality. So let's take that much of the train. We have beliefs lead to thinking, thinking leads to perception, reality. What's the caboose? Obviously, what is a belief? Because that caboose is important. So I'm going to ask you a question, what is a belief? And you know what? I've been doing large seminars for groups of people and businesses and corporations where I take them through a couple of days or a weekend of experiential type of learning with this knowledge, with experiences thrown into them. And I always ask the question in each one, and there's been a few thousand people through them, what is a belief? And nobody knows what a freaking belief is. Now you may say, Jack, that's not true. I know what a belief is. A belief is something that you believe it and then you think it's true, or it becomes true within you. Well, that's true. A belief does that. A belief could alter the way you behave or think or the choices you make. Absolutely, a belief does that. Yet nobody's answered the question, what is a belief? And that's your caboose. A belief is agreement with information. Now let that settle in. A belief is an agreement with information. That means somebody has told you something, or you've read it, or you've seen it somewhere, or even as a young child, even before sometimes you can remember, and somewhere along the line you agreed to that information and then it made it a truth. Once it was a truth, then it altered your thinking, and with the thinking comes the perception in your reality. So let me show you an example of how this works. I'm going to give you some information. When I give you the information, you'll see how the information will turn into a belief. So let me just start with this. There is a being that is omnipresent, meaning it can be everywhere in the world at the same time and can see what everybody's doing and all that good stuff. So let's just say there's this being that can do all those things. Now this being knows when you're sleeping, it knows when you're awake, it knows when you're in the bathroom, the bedroom, work, school, playing, whatever's happening. This being is watching and knows these things. Now this being is also doing another thing. While this being is simultaneously watching billions of people, it has also got a little tally sheet set up for each one of them. And this is good and this is bad. And when you do something good, you get the tally on the good side. And if you do something bad, you get the tally on the bad side. So then comes the day of judgment. And you will either be rewarded for the good behavior if there's enough of it, or you will be punished for the bad behavior if there's more of that. So who am I talking about? Of course, it's Santa Claus. Now, when I ask in a seminar setting, who am I talking about? For some reason, a lot of times they say God, which is interesting. You know why? Because in the Santa story, at least in the Western culture, if you are bad, your parents would tell you that something was going to happen. What were you going to receive? That's right, you were going to get coal in your stocking. Do you know why that's interesting? Because what does coal do? I mean, it would be more threatening if you were going to get a scorpion or maybe some bees or, a rattlesnake inside your stocking. But but coal, what is that going to do? Well, guess what coal produces? Fire. Interesting. So, interesting coincidence. Anyway, now we go back to this guy, Santa back here. All right. Now, as a child, your parents gave you that information more than likely. Not everybody, but most of us got it if we were in this part of the world. So as you got that information, here's what happened. You made an agreement with him. They showed you pictures of the guy. They showed you he was in the mall touring. They made their case and told you how he operates. Don't you remember? They told you that he's going to watch everything you're doing, that he's judging everything you're doing, and you're either going to get rewarded with your presents that you want or punished with coal. All right. So at this point, you believe it. That means you've made an agreement with it. So now the lie, this is very important. Stay with me here. The lie now controls you. Is that clear? So as a child, the minute that information came in, it doesn't come into a 2-year-old, they're not able to comprehend it. If you don't teach your children this, they never have this. So it is only to the child that is taught this information that actually manipulation and fear come into the picture. Now think about it. Because see, here's what I would hear as a child anyway about November, right? You better be good and clean your room or Santa Claus is going to not bring in your presents. And so now we are able to manipulate with fear the loss of something and the punishment of something if you don't do what somebody wants you to do. So this is where fear comes in, and we're taught not just that one, we're taught so much fear in our lives, it's incredible. Yet, let's just stay with this one. So now you have fear and you're being manipulated by a lie. Think about it. So because you've agreed to information that isn't true, you will suffer. Since you believe in information that isn't true, you will experience fear and stress. And that is the truth about any information you've made an agreement with in your entire life. That is fear-based. And believe me, we could spend weeks uncovering all the lies of fear-based stuff that controls humans. Yet let's get back to Santa. So you've made an agreement with the information that causes you to think. So when you see these stimuli coming in from the environment, like you better be good or Santa won't bring your presents, that causes a different kind of thinking, which causes a different perception. That perception usually leads to fear. Now, when I was about 8 years old, I'm at school, I'm talking to a couple of friends about Santa Claus, and I went and saw him, and he was touring and all that. And, I asked him for some certain gifts and everything, and it was all good. And until two guys behind me, two other little kids that were older than me, came up and started to tease me and call me a baby and all these different things and sort of mess with me because they knew it was a lie and I was stupid for believing it. So of course I go home and I'm upset because I'm like, you might as well have pulled a rug out from the most religious person on the planet and said there's no God. It doesn't even compute in the mind because it's a belief, right? Like all your beliefs. When the truth comes up to you and you believe something, you will not frickin' accept the truth. Most of the time. Unless if something really drastic is happening. Beliefs are almost alive. So I go home, I'm upset, and I tell my mom, I gotta talk to you. Listen, I've been told there's no Santa, I'm about 8. So she tells me, okay, I gotta talk to you. And she says, we need to have the talk. See, you're old enough now, so I can tell you the truth. The truth is there's no Santa Claus. And I also need you to stay on board with this, though, because you have 3 younger brothers and sisters, and we need to keep this going for them. Made it all sound very innocent and nice. The truth is it was a frickin' lie. That's it. It was a lie. You've taught me to lie. It's okay to lie. That's what this is. It's a lie. It's manipulation. It's fear-based, and there's a good guy somehow going to give you a present, too. All cool, except not very cool. So the minute I find out it's not true, the lie has no power over me anymore. So next year, if someone said to me, you better be good, Santa's coming next month, there's no emotional charge, there's no fear that starts to come through me because I know that's not true. My question to you, in your relationships and in your life, how many lies do you think you believe? How many are fear-based? Well, I can tell you right now, you can look at your stress levels. That will help you. That will help you determine, just by how often do you stress, will start to determine how many beliefs you have that are not true. They're fear-based. So when we're attempting to be in relationship, and we are run by tons of beliefs, the thing I asked you guys earlier, I asked you earlier was, why would anybody choose all these negative behaviors and outcomes in life? So we must not be choosing. Correct. We're not. We're programmed. Our belief system is already set. 80% of our beliefs and programs are set by the time we're 8. And then we just keep running like a robot. So if somebody says this, and this, I'm angry. If the government does this, then I'm pissed off. If this and this happens, then I won't talk to you. If this and that, but you're not choosing any of this. None of these things work in relationship. So, first thing we're going to do is identify, I promised you 3 behaviors that are eroding your relationship. We're going to talk about the first one right now. It's called emotional hijacking. So an emotional hijack happens when somebody does or says something that doesn't jive with your belief system. Okay? So whatever's been said or done doesn't work for your particular belief, and your automatic robotic response happens. You're angry, you're pissed, you're hurt, you're disappointed, you're sad, you're miserable, you're whatever. But it's all you. And they have said or done these things, and now you are upset and you don't know what to do about it. All right, see, this is the programming that goes on. So you are emotionally hijacked. This usually leads into screaming, hollering, silence, criticizing, all kinds of negative behaviors once you become emotionally hijacked. Relationships, every time an emotional hijack occurs, a good way to look at it would be a little piece of the relationship erodes. And then I know, but then when it's all good, we come back and we give each other a hug. Keep doing the other thing. See, it's getting to the point where 50% or more relationships do not last over 3 or 5 years. It's because they don't understand that eroding part is going to erode. It doesn't matter that you come back in the beginning because you still got your stomach flipping and you get close and squishy and everything's okay again. Each one of these breakdowns, each one of these emotional hijackings erodes the relationship. You should understand that if you want to create a harmonious relationship. So how does that happen? Well, I'll tell you, we talked about it. It's beliefs. Because you believe certain things, you act a certain way. So I'm going to ask you a question. In this monitor right now, what do you see? What would you call that? Of course, you would call it the letter B. Yet, if I talk, and if I was over in China, or this was a video for China, and I put that up there, they wouldn't say B. So my question to you is, where does the letter B exist? And the answer is, it doesn't. Or we could say, if we wanted to pinpoint where we thought it exists, it could be the English alphabet would be about it. But the real deal is that doesn't exist. What happened was we made an agreement to call that the letter B, and that the sound would be ba, and then we created words like we did with the entire alphabet in all of language itself and all the meanings we've attached to everything. But they don't actually exist. We've only made them up and agreed to them. So the letter B is fine. The letter B has never ruined a relationship. The letter B has never bankrupted anybody. The letter B has never gotten anybody emotionally hijacked. The letter B doesn't do anything like that. Because that type of knowledge, like this, if you look at the United States from a Google map, you don't see states divided. There's no lines around Arizona with the word Arizona. Arizona doesn't exist. Arizona was made up. We agreed we'll call this patch of land Arizona, but it doesn't ultimately exist at all. And neither do any of the countries on the planet. They were agreed upon. We'll just agree to call this, and we'll place it in this little border. But it doesn't actually exist. These things are fine. But in relationship, what's not fine, we're going to call these measurable knowledge. So I can measure how to get from California to Arizona, and I'll know when I'm crossing the line because they put a sign there for me that says, welcome to Arizona, or welcome to California. So this is measurable knowledge. I know where A ends, B starts, where B ends, C starts. It's simple stuff. Here's where a form of knowledge doesn't work. It's called abstract knowledge. It destroys relationships. So you might want to get a pen and write this down. Here we go. I have a question for you. Have you ever been disrespected, or you know what disrespect is? And I ask this in every single seminar I hold, and the answer to that is everybody knows. They've been disrespected, or they know what it is. Now here's a question. I want you to ponder this right now. Where does disrespect end and respect start? So where's the point? Where's that magical line where one ends and the other one starts? And the answer is what? See, I've had people answer things. One lady answered, well, it's if you're late, that's disrespectful. Another one said, well, if you're in a relationship and they lie to you, that's disrespectful. So they had disrespectful programs that they had. They had information they had accumulated to equal disrespect. Yet when you ask the question, where does it exist? Where does one stop and the other one starts? They get confused, and so does everyone, because the answer is it doesn't exist. It's a perception. It's made up in your own head. So I can do something to this person, and they could go, well, that was disrespectful. Well, this person says, no, that was constructive feedback. There's a huge difference. They were actually trying to help you, but you took it as disrespect, because anybody who tells you what you're doing is wrong is automatically disrespectful. See, we believe things that are complete lies, and they don't work. They don't work at all, and we believe a lot of lies about ourselves, lots of them. See, beliefs are very tricky. And matter of fact, why don't we prove right now that beliefs are running the thinking? That could help out in our relationships, because I'm just telling you that beliefs control the thinking, control the perception. Beliefs are agreements with information. What about if I could show you that that's true, so we would both know, everybody would know? How about this? We'll take a scenario. Let's say I own a company that when people want to get married, they come to me, and I help them to get married. And I do a really good job, and I teach them how to have a harmonious relationship. Now, I'm going to just use 3 women as an example. Let's say I bring these 3 women in, and I sit them down in front of me, and I decide to tell them some information. Now, it's only information. It'll have to go through that filter, that belief system. It'll run through there, and they're either going to think, or they'll think, or they'll think. But they've got to think once the information runs through there. So I'm only going to give them information. The information is in the form of words that are going to be placed into a sentence or so, and that is all they'll need to start the frickin' mechanical machine running. So let's say they're in front of me now, and I've been working with them for a few weeks. They're excited, they're getting married, they found the one. Have you ever found the one? How many have you found? Right, so they've got the one. Now, they come in and I tell them, today I have some news for you. It's unfortunate, but I have to tell you because I do my job very well. Here's the information. We've been following your spouses for about a week or two, and we have video proof and evidence that all three of them are lying to you and they're cheating on you. Now the second, that's just information, right? Those were just words. They were just letters that we've learned to put together and form words, and we make sounds out of our mouths. So what's going to happen? Here's what happens. Hypothetically, let's just say woman A gets the information and she has a response. And the response is angry. She basically becomes emotionally hijacked. She starts screaming, no, 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 no frickin' way. I will kill him. I will kill her. I'll find the bitch. I'll take her down. I'll destroy them. I know where he works and he's done stuff at work. I'm going to get him fired. I've got some friends that'll come over and beat his ass for me. That's exactly what's coming out. She's pissed. Now, why is she? Because that filter right there is filled with all kinds of revenge, eye for an eye type of beliefs that you don't mess with me or you're gonna pay for it. These are beliefs, that's all they are. So she has no choice, she's a robot right now. She may even go and kill him and spend 12, 15, 20 years in prison. That's how powerful beliefs are. And they're running your whole life and your frickin' relationships. Number two, or B, Lady B hears the same information, cheating, lying to you, yet it goes through her filter and her response is completely different. Her head goes down, she looks up, she understands it almost. She just looks and says, well, I knew he's gonna leave. They all leave. Everybody leaves. I'm not lovable. There's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but every relationship ends like this. They all cheat and lie, and there must be something wrong with me. Now, two completely different responses, reactions, I'll call them. Two different ones. Why? Because the second, Lady B, information went through that filter, and the filter was filled with low self-esteem, low self-worth, programs like that. I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. The beliefs come right out of her mouth. And then, woman C, now she's done some work, so she's got a pretty high emotional intelligent level going on. So she doesn't actually react like the other two. She waits and thinks, and then she responds. Now she may respond something like this. Well, you know what? This is I don't even know what to say. I mean, this hurts, because just because you're emotional intelligent doesn't mean you're not going to feel. You will feel, but it's what she. See, the filter, the brain can only do what the filter, and guess what's in her filter? Things like, don't take it personal. So she might say something like, well, you know what, if this is the truth, that was their choice, not me, and I'm not paying the price for it. I didn't do it, I had integrity. Two, she's calm, she's gonna make a choice, she's gonna think about it. Are you going to forgive him? Are you going to stay with him? I don't know. I need to think about that. She's capable of actually forgiving and working on it if maybe she finds out a good reason to do that. Or she may separate and say, that's not going to work for me because I need someone I can trust in a relationship. However, she may not choose to hate. Interesting, because she has high emotional intelligence. She realizes hating and resentments aren't going to hurt them. It's going to hurt her. And she knows that because she has a belief that resentments hurt me, not the other person. She also has a belief to not take anything personal. She has another belief that says, don't make assumptions. I want to talk to this person and find out why this happened. What was the reason it happened? Perhaps I can find some information out and transmute that to wisdom, and maybe I won't ever live this again. So we have three different women, all got the same information, all were getting married, all found the one. But three totally different responses when the information came out. Why? Because our belief system takes information from the environment, processes it through there, and then we think, and then we get our perception. So when we're in relationships and we have beliefs, like here's one I hear from a lot of people. In relationship, in the beginning, it's all happy and loving and all that, and then the fighting starts. The arguing starts. The tit-for-tat mentality starts. The bickering starts, and they have a belief that it's okay. They actually say it. I hear them say, well, that's okay. Every relationship has its ups and downs. Oh, couples fight. That's what it's okay. That's what we do. But now we're making up, so we're okay right now. These are beliefs, people. They're just beliefs. If you believe them, then they will run your relationship. The problem is what I said earlier. Every single time that you explode and throw a tantrum and fight and blame and use guilt and shame and anger and screaming and all this other nonsense, every time you do that, you erode the relationship, and then you cover it up with this belief that isn't going to work. And that is all relationships do this. This is normal. Stop telling yourself this is normal. Here's a belief that actually will work for you. In relationship, people aren't always going to believe the same thing. That means they're not always going to agree. And that's it. All the screaming, arguing, fighting, bickering, jealousy, blaming, manipulating, shaming, condescending comments, name calling, throwing things, silent, checking out, is all unnecessary. You do it because you're a programmed robot. And right now, in this video, you have an opportunity to start changing the programs, because that's the beautiful thing about beliefs. They don't have to be there. They are interchangeable. You can get rid of some and put other ones in. One of the things that changed my life was adapting the belief, don't take anything personal. That made a huge impact in my life. See, beliefs are powerful. They run our entire world. So let's move on to the second behavior that erodes your relationship. And I've already mentioned it. It's taking things personal. Nothing anybody else does is because of you, and you don't do anything that you do because of anyone else. You do it because of what you believe and how you're programmed, and they do it for what they believe and how they're programmed, and that's it. So if you don't take anything personal, you eliminate a lot of emotional hijacking, if not all of it. You end needless suffering. People are just people. Think about the demands you place on these people you say you love. Think about it. What kind of demands do you place on them? Do they have to call you at a certain time and be there, and they're supposed to support you this way, and they're supposed to act this way, and they're supposed to... You are going to go through life in relationships stressed out of your mind, and you're going to erode every single one of them, unless if you happen to get somebody who actually will stay in that. And then guess what you're going to get to have? A dysfunctional, loveless relationship. And maybe you're only a year or two into years and you're going, well, I don't believe that. We have our fights, we argue, we get angry, I scream and everything, but we make good love afterwards, and we cuddle, and we're going to just keep going with it. Just keep doing it. See where it's going to end up. Because it doesn't have to be that way. What you have to do is make a choice. So we have a couple of things we've covered right now. Number 3 is ineffective communication. That's the inability to communicate effectively. Screaming is not effective. Blaming is not effective. Guilting is not effective. Manipulating is not effective. None of these things are effective. Effective communication is listening and sharing and being open and honest and being accepting and tolerant, and quit judging the other person. Whatever they're saying because that's what they believe. You would be better off in communication that when you start to not believe the same things, set it up ahead of time. If we don't believe the same thing about anything we're talking about, whether it's religion, politics, children, men and women, the way the world works, gods, or whatever it is, we should find that out. And when we don't believe the same thing, we should have what we decide to do with that. Like perhaps we decide that we recognize we're not believing the same thing, and before it turns into something that's dysfunctional and doesn't work, maybe we just say we drop that subject. There's other things to talk about. See, if your little brain goes, no, I need this handled, and you did this to me, well, then you are trapped into what I call mental prison. How does it feel to be in mental prison? It doesn't feel good. It really feels very bad to be in mental prison. Who puts you there? They do? He does? She does? The kids do? The parents do? Government does? Boss? Co-workers? No. You do. You put yourself in mental prison. Now, I will be honest, you probably didn't decide that. You were programmed to put yourself in mental prison. All the work I've done for 10 years is about people getting out of mental prison and stop suffering. The world is what it is. It is. You can either love what is, or you can be in resistance, but when you're in resistance, you suffer. There's no other way around it. See, the thing is, you and everyone else on this planet are miracles. It's a miracle you're here. Think about it. Now just think about it. For you to be here, you had to win a race against a million other swimmers, and all of your goal was to hit an egg. And you were the one that hit it. The minute you hit that egg and started penetrating, that egg released a chemical to kill every other swimmer that would attempt to get in there, otherwise you'd all die. So you are the one that won the race, and that could be a miracle. It's 1,000,000 to 1, but that's not the miracle. The miracle's so much bigger than that. It's the tip of the iceberg. See, imagine if your mother didn't win the race, would you be here? Answer is no. If your father didn't win the race, would you be here? Answer is no. What about if their parents didn't win the race? Well, then they wouldn't be here. Well, if they weren't here, how could you be here? Well, what about if their parents didn't win the race? Well, then none of you'd be here. And then how far back do you want to go? See, you're a miracle, and I'm watching a world of miracles sit around fighting, guilting, shaming, blaming, resentment, lying, manipulating. And then once in a while I see people actually accepting and tolerant and neutral and loving and kind. It doesn't have to be this way. You deserve to be happy, but you have to stand up to the person in the mirror, and you have to start examining those beliefs that control your relationship and your entire life. And you need to find out which ones aren't working. And then you want to let those go. And then start putting beliefs in there that do work. Like not taking things personal and don't make assumptions. And understand when somebody offers you information, is it fear-based or not? If it's fear-based, you don't have to believe it. See, the minute you make an agreement with information, you take on the belief. It turns into a belief. And then that belief becomes part of that filter. And anything coming in has to go through that filter, and that's going to decide how you think and how you experience the world. We have a 2-day seminar on relationship and this information that's filled with not only information like this, but experiences. And the difference between an experience and just information or learning is an experience sticks with you. So if I ask you, have you ever learned in school maybe the 50 capitals of the United States? I knew those. When I was about 11 or 12, I took a test. I got 100%. I knew all 50 of them. You know why? I memorized them like information. But when it came down to actually 20 years later remembering them, I can remember a handful. If a handful. I don't know. Yet if you ask me about my first kiss, that was an experience. It was in Toronto, in the lockers, with Sue. Done. I remember what she looked like. I remember the whole experience because it was an experience. And when we do our seminars, we put a lot of experiences in there because the experiences are what you'll take. They're the things that'll transform to help you transform your life into the way you want it to be. It's the experiences. The information's great. It's powerful. Yet, the experiences are what moves you. We have an event coming up on August 6th and 7th. It's a Saturday, Sunday. And if you go to www.achievemastery.net and just go to Success Step 1 and scroll down, you can get all the information. There's a special going on for you there. It's normally $395 for the weekend, and it's a full-blown money-back guarantee. At the end of the seminar, if you're not happy, all your money goes back to you. No questions asked. Yet if you have this video and you've watched this video, then you're going to be able to say, I watched the video, and at the end it said I could get this for $195, and you will get it for $195. That's the full weekend, still full money-back guarantee. Take your relationships, your life, your finances, your health, and your dreams to the next level, and let me help you out. I've been doing it for 10 years. So my name's Jack Duchesne. I hope to see you in the seminar. Thank you very much.